USI.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, I like this guy.
Hey. Good, thanks for being here.
Well, it wasn't my cat, but
I know he's younger than me,
But I think that's a good reason. Thank you.
he's done a good job. You know, that position was part of the night consulting. And
Well, you know, I mean.
broke off, WBE.
Yeah.
but you picked the right direction. To here with the road being closed.
Well, that's good.
Along with the.
In all fairness, we booked the room before I knew of all the construction.
And then. Yeah, Danny was here.
The other day, well, not the other day, it was probably several weeks ago, I went to meet someone in downtown on the square, and I had 5 detours just from like.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, you started.
So I had like, I live right over here in South Alabama.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I live in South Alabama and I just took
Well, Terry
Oakdale,
Morgan's a really good friend of mine. He's still.
normally 32, and there was like
Like
my normal route, I love it. And I was like,
He done 32, I had no idea how much. he had torn up.
Shelby.
I mean, it was a lot.
It,
This,
it,
deep, I kept going down. I became a real fan of that.
Yeah, yeah,
They say.
and that was his farm.
He's kind of
That's
like,
his family farm.
yeah, he's my.
Let me go get Amanda.
Kind of weird, it's my wife's cousin.
Thanks for being here, I had a pretty.
We got talking to him, discovering that like.
Do we have enough?
Yeah.
The next family, the next like.
Yeah.
He's a good dude because
It's always the
TJ's
parents.
son is actually now decided he's gonna take over. He's, that's a little.
Yeah, they were on the fence for a while.
Yeah.
So that's good because they're a good company. And they do a lot of good work, but they struggle. I mean, it's all about the people you get.
Well, people are coming.
I was gonna say, you can move on over.
Good, how are you? Good to see you. You made it before for it.
No.
It would be important for some guys.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think he's ever lacked in being important.
Yeah, that's like part of the crowd. You can see who's online and make faces.
If they can't really see you. We can see them a lot better than they can see us. We're the little group.
We're the little.
Yeah,
Little group in the middle.
Right, right. The middle, you're. You need to be taken, be spending, at the bank.
If you're back, if you're back, desperate, they're out of tender.
Oh, when did people pick them up guns? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
They used to be the joke in the law firm. Just keep picking up him. Yeah, cheap advertising.
There you go. I'm saying that in your county these days, it's crazy, I guess.
You can't get any. I'm so happy.
Had it up
Just
there.
kept getting like. Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
And. I'll let you know, well, not, you know,
I know.
but we didn't clarify it.
Well, it's, I mean, it's so weird because and it's like this in Marion County too. No matter where you go, something's under construction wherever we're trying to get to.
Oh, it's, I think it's even worse, here, all of our federal money hit it.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was thinking about it, you know, because when he was public works director, I thought, did we really try to look at how he said run construction? Plus you gotta look at all this private stuff too, right? And again, it's really kind of impossible.
Well, then in Carmel, they have a local close so they can construct the building. Right?
Really funny.
We're ready.
So I'd like to call, attention everybody. I'd like to call this, June meeting of, CIRTA to order, and we'll start with introduction. Greg Kennedy, I'll start with American Structure One.
Jennifer Gethard, Director of CIRTA.
Christine Olden, Hamilton County.
Rob
Ian Scheidler with Hancock County.
Wagner, ATU 1070.
Gordon on the call in.
Ron Deere, Johnson County Council.
Jerry Bridges, Madison County. Eileen Swackhammer, Delaware Muncie Metropolitan Plan Commission.
Destiny Wells, Marion County.
David Johnson, Transpro Consulting.
Jen Thomas, JGPR.
I'm Rita. Anna Garland with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Jonathan Wallace, and the project.
Kia Gillette, HNTB Profile Lady.
Lisa Wall, HNTB. Anna Meyer, CIRTA Assistant Director.
Both Rock American Construction Consultant for CIRTA.
Brittany Smith, CSW County. Consultant for
Sebastian Caicedo, Program Manager for Community Connect CIRTA. Thanks, everybody. So we'll jump into the agenda. Glasses on here. Hey, you guys, don't look at my bald spot from back to back. Can't do that. So we'll start with the consent agenda. And we have to do with that. That's approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, you should be. Read the title.
Okay, so, give me a minute, guys. I did rehearse it.
Well, I move to approve everything on the consent agenda except for the structure point invoice that you may have a conflict.
Well, thank you. So, is there a second?
I'll second it.
So the motion's been made and seconded, and we'll do a roll call vote.
Yeah. Jerry Bridges,
Yes.
Greg Henneke.
Yes.
No, okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you're
good.
We're good.
Oh, yeah.
No,
yes,
you're
on
good.
that, yeah.
I got it mixed up.
Larry Hudson. Don Adams. Christine Altman.
Aye.
Ron Deere.
Aye.
Mike Gorlowski. Andrew. And. Aye. Eileen.
Yes.
Rob.
Aye.
And Destiny.
Aye.
Motion passes, and then we're on to.
Next resolution.
I move to approve the American Structure Point invoice.
There actually is that one.
Well, it says a resolution to approve American Structure
Oh,
Point.
those are the minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the next one is a resolution to approve the contract amendment with Transpo Resolution 2024-06-1102.
I can give an update on this one. So, as you know, Transpro Consulting has been assisting us with the Workforce Connector study to look at changing the operations of the connector due to the high cost of the last bid that we received. Based on the funding we have left in the project, we want to recommend a contract amendment to have used the remaining of the funding up to $28,000 for a procurement support. And a part of that procurement support is going to include things such as vendor outreach, a pre-proposal conference, and assisting with interviews and different things regarding the whole RFP process. If there's any questions for it, it's a contract amendment not to exceed $28,000.
Is there any questions about this item? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Yeah, motion's been made and seconded, roll call vote.
Jerry,
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Don? Christine? Ron?
Yes.
Ann? Yes. Kylie?
Yes.
Bob?
Aye.
And Destiny?
Yes.
Unanimous, so motion carries.
We actually have a printed presentation by the
You guys ready to go on?
If you'd like to, I should have fun friends with questions.
Okay.
No, you're right. Go over to the bar, yeah, keep going, the middle button, I believe is present.
Not used to it in my browser.
I understand.
Apologize.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you everyone for having us today. My name is Lisa Wall. We're here to provide you a brief update on the Propel Indy study. Next slide. So just very quickly an overview of what we're gonna go through today. We'll start with just a brief overview of the study and then walk you through a recap of the study's visioning phase, which began about a year ago. We'll walk through the public feedback we've received and the data that we've analyzed, all of which is available to review on our study's website. We'll walk through our recently released draft purpose and need report, which was developed using both feedback from the public alongside data that we collected by the study team. We released this on May 20th for public comment through the end of June. And then we'll also walk through some community goals and next steps. All right, so Propel Indy, if you're not familiar, is a 2-year transportation study, and it's a unique opportunity for residents, neighborhoods, businesses, and commuters to envision the future of I-65 and I-70 in Indianapolis. It's going to result in the bold vision to modernize our interstates and enhance our community. Next, we'll kind of show you where our study area is. It includes about 26 miles of the interstates of I-65 and I-70 within the I-465 loop, with the exception of 2 areas. I'll wipe this a little bit. The recently completed North Split project, and then 65 South heading towards 465. That is the I-65 Safety and Efficiency Project, which is already programmed. So we're looking at everything else. So like I mentioned, this is a 2-year study. We just recently completed, this launched about a year ago. Full disclosure, it was before I was involved, but I have been baptized by fire as we've made it through this. So we just recently collected what we call our visioning phase, where we gathered big ideas, concepts, community concerns, alongside a lot of data that we looked at. And so now we've moved into the second phase, which is the release of our draft purpose and need report, where we identified the transportation needs or issues that we're trying to solve using the data that we've collected alongside the feedback. Moving forward, next steps will be identifying alternatives or solutions to solve these identified problems, refining those alternatives, and then about this time next year, we will release our Pell report that will kind of share our recommendations for the study. So next, we'll walk you through what we've been doing for the past year. So the visioning phase, like I said, kicked off about a year ago at the end of May. I can go to the next slide. We spent the last year out in the public asking for the public's ideas about the future of I-65 and I-70 within the 465 loop. This kind of shows you an overview of the public engagement we've done to date. We received more than 1,100 comments over the past year from several hundred stakeholders who use, work, or live near the interstates. And then we met with a variety of neighborhoods, organizations, businesses to gain a greater understanding. So you can see that represented here. This map kind of gives you an idea as to where our meetings and events took place throughout the study area, and we're just trying to keep track of that as we move through the study process. So our study is built on four pillars: quality of life and livability, economic growth and opportunity, transportation and mobility, and equity. And so we've taken our 1,100 comments that we've received and we aligned them. We identified key themes and aligned them with these pillars to make that data easy to consume, because as you can imagine, 1,100 comments, there's a lot of things that are in those. So next we have just a quick overview of, and I know these are hard to see for you in the room, and I'm very sorry. 18 key themes is a lot. But just to walk you through what these all are. Quality of life and livability. These were comments about placemaking in public spaces, health and safety, wayfinding, things like improved wayfinding or interstate aesthetics, so like lighting, landscaping, things along those lines. And economic growth and opportunity. We met with a number of businesses during this first phase. And these comments were about supporting growth for businesses of all sizes through better connections, as well as improved walkability for residents, employees, and visitors. Transportation and mobility, not surprising, it's a transportation study. So we received a lot of comments that fell into this bucket. Roadway design, alternatives, connectivity, pedestrian bike, comments focused on traffic safety concerns, considerations for public transit, pedestrian and bike access. A lot of things were identified in this bucket. And then finally, equity included things about the impact of interstates on local neighborhoods, both when they were constructed and today, and about the importance of engaging with all stakeholders through the study process. We have a document on our website where we summarized all of these comments and actually provided responses. It's called a Resource Agency Stakeholder and Public Involvement Summary. Call it a RASP. That's a really long name for a document, but that's on the website for the public to review, to be able to see everything that we captured through this phase. So in addition, as I mentioned, along with capturing all this feedback and engaging with the community, we're data driven, we're fueled by feedback. We've taken the input and we use it to inform the data that we collected. So we evaluated, existing bridge and pavement conditions within the study area, crash data and roadway operations, both current and projected traffic volumes, both today and looking ahead to the year 2050. And then, we looked at other studies that had taken place within the area and environmental constraints. Much of this data was released on May 20th when we released our purpose and needs, our transportation conditions report, environmental constraints, summary of previous studies. All of that is at propelnd.com if you would like to take the time to review it. Okay, whew. I didn't take too much of your time. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm trying to get through it. So this is our latest breaking news. The feedback we received and the data we collected, led us to this next phase, which is the release of our draft purpose and need report, which, as I mentioned, we released on May 20th. This is going to identify the transportation issues or needs within the study area, the desired outcome or the purpose of completing a project, and it's going to establish a baseline that's going to guide us through the future phases of the study. We have a video on our website that walks you through kind of the main purposes, but in the interest of time, I will just walk you through them now. But it's a very lovely video. I encourage you to check it out. In this phase, we're focused on why potential improvements are being considered and why they're important for the community. So these are the four needs that we've identified or issues within the study area. They include aging bridge and pavement conditions, roadway safety, roadway mobility, and limited multimodal and neighborhood connections. I'll just walk you briefly through each of them. So aging bridge and pavement, there are bridge and pavement sections on the interstates that are nearing the end of their lifespan and require replacement or rehabilitation. That was something that we identified. Roadway safety. Safety is obviously important. From 2018 to 2022, there were more than 10,500 crashes within the study area. 7% of those resulting in fatal or incapacitating injuries. Roadway mobility. There's decreased mobility on the interstates due to traffic congestion, which I think some of us experienced this morning. This is projected to worsen over time. And then there are also operational issues that are caused by geometric deficiencies in the roadway design, such as weaving segments, left side entrance ramps. Those also contribute to decreased mobility. And then finally, limited multimodal and neighborhood connections. There are gaps in the pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure across and near the interstate. This is something that we are going to be looking at as the study progresses. So the purpose of Propel ND is we're going to identify potential solutions to improve aging bridge and pavement, improve safety along and at intersections near the interstates by reducing the frequency and or severity of crashes, look for solutions to reduce congestion and improve mobility by addressing both operational and geometric deficiencies, and then improve multimodal connectivity across and near the interstates. Finally, also included in our purpose and need report were community goals. These were developed using public feedback, and they were aligned with the study's 4 pillars. They're also in the purpose and need, as I mentioned. These goals are opportunities that could be addressed by potential solutions that are identified by the study, and they will be considered alongside other factors as the study progresses. And again, I apologize, these are small, these are all on our website, but as you can see, we have goals aligned, 2 goals associated with each of our pillars. So when we talk about quality of life and livability, we want to identify community enhances that improve the quality of life of adjacent neighborhoods, as well as avoiding or minimizing the impacts to the natural and human environment. For economic growth and opportunity, we want to provide infrastructure to support local, regional, and statewide economic development goals, and ensure efficient and reliable transportation to support the visitor experience, because we know that's an important thing that our interstates do. Transportation and mobility, we're looking to support emerging technologies related to infrastructure and consider NDOT's carbon reduction strategy, National Electric Vehicle Plan, and future resilience plan as we're developing alternatives. And then finally, equity. We're going to actively engage stakeholders who use, cross, work, or live near the interstates throughout the study, and provide accessible, fair, safe, affordable, reliable, and sustainable mobility across and along the interstates for community members based on identified needs and input received. So, next steps. The draft purpose and need report is available for public comment on our website through June 30th. We are doing multiple outreach events, including this in the month of June. We have our first of 4 community conversations tonight. And we're doing just multiple different events, meeting with different groups throughout this month. And then next, we're in the early stages of already identifying alternatives or potential solutions to address these needs within the study area. And those are going to be introduced in the next phase of the study. So, all that's to say. Are there any questions? I'm trying to scroll the slide that I can control that. I have Kia Gillette here. She's my phone friend, and if there are questions that I can answer.
I assume you got some input from the Rethink people
Yes.
downtown?
Yeah.
Probably big input, right?
Yeah, so we have
You want it?
yeah, so we have a stakeholder advisory committee, the member of it, and Rethink, we actually have a representative on the committee as well. So we're listening to all inputs, but yes, we are having conversations with them throughout this process.
Yeah, we have monthly meetings with their CEO and president, and we've also had a workshop where they shared some of the information that they had on the concept that
They've done a lot of work.
they have, and they shared a lot of information with us, so we appreciate that.
I know you're just now getting into what we're gonna do about it, all right? Is there thought of limiting through traffic through town?
We're looking at that.
Cause that, I mean, that's
something, it's definitely something, it's not the first time we've heard that question. So yeah, that is something we're looking at.
like towing people, towing trucks.
We're looking at all of that.
Everything's on the table.
We don't necessarily,
I
there's
know you don't.
political ramifications associated
Sure.
with tolling, but it's something that we're looking
I guess if it gets hard enough to get through town, people go around, right? That's
at. Or
not the
they'll
best
go
answer,
somewhere
probably.
else.
And the study is done in another year-ish?
Yeah, about a year. And there will be public engagement for points throughout each phase of the study. So we might be back and sharing more about that as we get through this next phase. But yes.
Well, I hope you do. I
Yeah,
hope you do. Yeah.
Great. It's an ongoing conversation that we're.
But else been?
Yeah.
Now that Indigo's blue line is using part of I-70 as its alignment, what kind of accommodation might be possible for including that in school alternatives?
We're not there yet, but we have been coordinating with Indigo and are going to be looking into different options on I-70 with them.
Also note that CIRTA's workforce connected. Consolidated.
There you go.
The standard route uses I-465 onto 865. It doesn't sound though like that's any part of your study.
Is there any coordinating study with 465 with additional capacity if you do avoid downtown?
There's not, 465 is not the main focus of this study. However, it's something, we recognize that traffic is a system. It's not. We do something to 65 and 70 inside of 465 that can, and it is currently vice versa, having ramifications on the outside. So we may look at that as at a higher level in terms of how we might impact 465. But the focus of this is really on 65 and 70 inside the loop.
That's a really good point, though. I mean, all that investment on the 69 interchange and all the all the 465 work included in that. And then of course this deal up here, I mean, those are gonna be there for 50 more years, so right now I've changed those.
There wasn't any appetite for additional loop on the outside.
Well, I get that. I get that.
Given that the improvements, recent improvements to the north edge of downtown, maybe Minneapolis, what is the possibility that some of those are those going to be revisited and look like those were part of your study area?
Technically, the north split is outside of the study, but as I mentioned before, we can't ignore the north split. If something needs to be done within that area because of something else that we're doing outside of that area, we're not going to draw a hard line and say, nope, we're not touching it completely. But since it was recent, we're still kind of evolving a little bit, done, we didn't want to start from complete scratch there.
Well, this overlap with the south split.
South split is included in the Propel Indy study, so we are looking at that.
Well, I congratulate you guys on doing this. I mean, it's been needed for a long time. And we just built the interchange, that new interchange downtown, kind of like the same ideas that in the 50s when they built it to start with. So it's bigger and safer and maybe carries more traffic, but it's still, 1950s thinking.
We encourage all of you, you can go to our website, and review the purpose need. If you have any additional feedback, we're taking comments specifically on the purpose need through the end of June, but like I said, we'll be engaging people and we're looking for feedback throughout the study, so we appreciate you guys having.
Thanks, having Jen involved.
Yeah, of course. It's actually that I believe it's the White Town Connect thing is how I think it was like, oh, we need someone from CIRTA because that's an interesting idea. So that definitely was on our radar as well.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Guys.
Oh, one quick question. Are you looking at park and ride locations as part of the study?
We
Like
are,
Michigan
we are
does.
open to anything,
Okay.
and we would welcome feedback from this group. If you
Yeah.
have specific, especially if you have specific locations. We think that.
Well, other states invested.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of trying to find public or private partnerships to have them at, as I'm doing right now.
I'm borrowing your parking lot.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
Good job. Next we'll have updates for legislative update.
You want to stop there? Do you want us here? It's good to see you.
You go there.
All right, well, so I guess we'll start with some exciting news. On July 1, the expansion of the Economic Enhancement District will go into effect. So that will allow those Whitestown and Plainfield Connect programs to expand and for different properties and companies to opt in to join that. Subsequent property owners are able to opt out. That was something that kind of had to be included in order to get that piece of legislation passed, but that goes into effect on July 1. I'm not sure if Jennifer, if there's any updates on that from your end, but we'll see after count.
No offense on my hand for that,
Awesome.
but we're excited that it went through.
Yeah.
I have a question about the opt-out.
Mhm.
What's to prevent an employer from opting out, but having their employees still utilize the service?
So that could be a potential problem. I don't think necessarily that stop will probably never go away because it's dropping off for multiple different areas.
Right.
But I think that is exactly why we would go back to the legislature and say, this isn't working, we need to change this. That's kind of the deal that they struck was, let's put this in there now, and then if there is a problem, let's come back later and we'll address it then.
It would also be the time of a transaction of change in ownership. So if an owner opts in, they're in. The only time they could opt out would be a transaction where that piece of that parcel would actually change. So if they couldn't sit there in a year or two and just go, hey, we're just not gonna opt in.
Right.
It would actually have to require a transaction for that property. So
Right, that's
they
subsequent
couldn't just
property.
do it.
It have to be true transaction.
Yes.
Not a straw man.
A true transaction.
Okay.
What this was no fault of your own. There was a lot of different issues on taxation districts and so forth. This was not their area of concern, but they started getting into this philosophical debate of if the parcel changes hands, why would we saddle the new owner with what a decision of the previous owner on a taxing district? Had nothing to do with this conversation. I could take you down a dark road of why, but none of you want to hear that. We can guess. There's several reasons.
So that's all from, I guess, this past legislative session. Looking ahead to next legislative session, it's an election year. So there will be a lot of things going on, new governor, new seats. And then in the meantime, there will be several summer interim committees while we're waiting for all those other fun pieces of the puzzle to fall together. Specific to CIRTA, there is going to be a state and local tax review task force. That's a handful, a mouthful. That will review all things related to income taxes, property taxes, local option taxes. If it has to do with taxes, it will probably come up in that committee. Another one important to CIRTA.
Is there some direction that committee has? Well, that's a great question. So you have one state senator, Holden, wants to eliminate the income taxes, while Senator Mishler, who may happen to write the state budget, has zero interest in that. So you have two Senate committee chairs that are pretty influential. They're different. I think the income tax, this is my personal opinion, has been somewhat beat down, to be very frank. Those of you that may be involved in local government, county government here, know that there's a lot of bonds backed by local income taxes. At the end of the day, there's a variety of different conversations there. This is year 2 of a 2-year study. So it's still going. It's still going. So they did a lot of work last session, last interim, but they continue to see more conversation. This time, Mishler, I think, has a little bit difference of opinion, just to kind of pull the curtain back. I think some of this is a dog and pony show that's put on by Holden and Mishler. And I think they know exactly what they want to end up with. But they're going to play their different roles in front of the curtain.
That's, what position is Representative Thompson taking?
Representative Thompson's not, at least in my opinion, has not taken a position on eliminating income taxes. He has very little interest in that at this point. They do have some understanding of circuit breakers and those types of issues. That may not be an issue per se for CIRTA, but for many of you and then also our stakeholders, it definitely is. So those are some of the positions that I think Representative Thompson is more interested in. You also have, unrelated to CIRTA, you have a growing share of Medicaid spending, percentage of the state budget. If you listen to Mishler for 5 minutes, if he doesn't mention it, you must be having a better conversation. Because that's what he's going to talk about. That is a great concern for him. The state has removed some individuals that may have received some of those additional benefits during, if you will, COVID. And you get our spending continues to grow. The state budget.
And they're trying to hone that in so that they can use those dollars
Elsewhere.
Okay, the funding, Indiana's Roads for a Stronger, Safer Tomorrow Task Force, another mouthful. None of these have been scheduled yet. They call them summer interim committees, but really they're like fall interim committees. They don't start until, I'd say, August or after normally. So that task force, they're going to be looking at all things road funding. So they're going to be looking at Indiana's comprehensive road funding plan for highway and bridge needs. They're going to be looking at electric vehicles and how that plays in, gas tax, EV fees, registration fees, you name it, if it has to do with funding roads, they're going to be looking at it. That was extended, so they will ultimately have some type of recommendation that will probably go into the 2025 budget. So we'll be paying very close attention to that whenever it comes up.
And typically on those meetings, even this last year, both Abby and I are personally in attendance of those can get pretty lengthy, but at the same time, there's a lot of data that's presented on different concepts, and then also a nice national overlook where there may even be in town, but nowadays even zooming in, if you will, into those meetings where we get some pretty good comprehensive information. NCSL, National Conference of State Legislators, actually presents pretty good information from an overview throughout the country as well.
What other people are doing, right?
Correct. That's absolutely
Yeah, and they did that similar to for the income
for the
taxes.
taxes and so forth.
They brought in lots of, even some global people to look at that and what it looks like. So it was interesting.
Yeah, for those of you that may provide professional services, the services tax will be brought up, so all your blood pressure will rise. Engineers, attorneys, you know.
Easy money.
Easy money, medical bills, yeah, that always raises people's blood pressure.
So that's in one of these two study committees then?
Yeah, that will be in the tax piece with Commissioner Holden and Thompson. They always talk about it, and I think then they just want to meet with every law firm in town. Just to get everyone's,
Huh.
so it's pretty entertaining. TV stations get really animated about it too, as some others.
Well, that's about it for summer and last session. Looking ahead to next session, I guess we want to solicit ideas from you all as to what needs to be pursued next session. If anything, again, it's a budget year, so that might open up some different opportunities.
We know in your last meeting, which unfortunately we were detained, but the trying to get dedicated funding for CIRTA is definitely a conversation that we need to start. The conversation of the benefits that CIRTA has, but that's where the piece we really have to get direction from you all with respect to how you want to pursue that. We obviously have our thoughts on when, how, but when is now. So that's the piece that well, it is summer. A lot of these legislators are trying to do family and business things. At the same time, you can get 30, 40, 50, 2 hours of their time, particularly in their districts. So meeting though with those fiscal leaders sooner, trying to get on their table what the ask may or may not be, at least the general concepts. Last year, we were able to pass a relatively simple maneuver, if you will, but that was large part due to Holman knew about it. We had a great bill author. It was never drafted as a bill. It was always going to be an amendment. Holman agreed to it well before the session and knew that he would stick it into a certain type of bill, which is exactly how it happened. Funding is a little bit different. It's going to have to be stuck in the budget. However, sometimes I may get those conference committee and we'll talk about how. But that is a piece that you have to get some unison, particularly with Thompson this year.
I mean, the legislation that it created sort of, how long ago, been a dozen years ago?
Correct.
20
20
years ago.
Yeah.
So does anybody really in the legislature really know about sort of these days?
There is, but very little.
I mean, so it's an education program.
It's an education program as well.
And we worked pretty heavily last year trying to come up with like a one pager where when we have 2 seconds with the legislator in the hallway to touch them and inform them about what CIRTA is, what they do. Specifically, those legislators who have CIRTA services in their district, letting them know about it and how it's benefiting their constituents is really important. So that will never stop. I think that should only increase.
Sometimes it's not necessarily rank and file, it's the key people on the right committees. You know, even somebody's name somebody may or may not know. Pressel is chairs the House Transportation Committee. Not remotely living close to central Indiana, and he might as well be the chair of the BZA in central Indiana. because he deals with a lot of local fights in Indianapolis, so.
Press one, form a little group then to do some strategy.
It would be most advantageous
We
for
should do
us.
that pretty quickly.
Yes.
Maybe you and I can talk about, and the rest of the board can talk about who in that sort of branch.
Plus, it'd be helpful to know who is more influential. Should we be geared toward business partners that are enjoying the services of vans? I mean, what's more influential down there should be in terms of constituents.
Correct. I mean, I think it could be all of the above. It really depends. Maybe that legislator has a really good business relationship with a property owner who's taking advantage of a certain service, and maybe we can reach out to their legislator and say, hey, this is really important. We really need this. We need more funding, X, Y, Z. So I think we can look at it from all angles, but it would be beneficial to do that sooner rather than later.
You might look at who your
Yeah.
champions are and who they might know downtown.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Well,
particularly.
the whole value proposition that we talk about all the time. I think people that enjoy the services or adjacent to the services now don't even get it. And so how are these guys out in the middle of nowhere gonna get it if we don't tell them?
Right. Completely agree. Yeah, so that's something we can definitely get together to discuss further. Also specific to this group, there are some governor's office board appointments we are waiting on. It's like we've been waiting on them forever.
The challenge is they're all fighting to see who's gonna be the last one standing, to turn off the lights, so.
Yeah, it's not even turnover at this point. It's just people leaving the governor's office so that they have a job come January. The person that we've been in contact with, which is the person that the FDO sent over their recommendations to, he's been updated on everything along the way, and we reached back out to him yesterday, actually, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He said he would reach out to us in a couple weeks, and we haven't heard back yet, so. We'll continue
One of
to-
the people that were bird dogging it is now chief staff at NDOT, and you have the general counsel saying, I don't have enough attorneys, and I really can't hire anymore at this time. So you're just trying to put it on top of your staff. Not an excuse, it's just a reality of a two-term governor. Frankly, didn't really.
Are they still vetting as intensely as they did? Is it an opportunity?
I think it's a matter of what's on top of their stack today. I mean, with all due respect, Christine. It's less people in the governor's office. Frankly, I've kind of seen this a couple of times, so it gets pretty painful at this time.
And they do them every couple months. I think the last set they did was in January. And then, so it's not just us waiting. There's probably a lot of groups waiting on that.
What should we be working on, Ron?
Frankly, actually, you bring up a great point. I already am on a couple different things. So, for a couple different clients.
He's the most probable next.
I would, not the sidestep the November general election, but yes, in terms of who his potential cabinet members are, what their policies are, they are emboldened a little bit in terms of making significant changes. A general theme, they've seen the size of state government grow since, if you will, Mitch Daniels somewhat trimmed government, if you will, and that means a lot of different things. And they saw the government generally grow, so through the Pence and Holcomb, so they're looking at trying to reduce the size and scope of government from their perspectives on how they may or may not achieve that. Most of you in this room know current U.S. Senator Braun. He's a business executive, didn't really enjoy his U.S. Senate time, although Abby and I recently spent some time with him in D.C. on a couple of matters. I think he is now because he knows there's an end at the light of the tunnel. His time in jail is ending. He is more, I would say more energetic, rejuvenated in terms of being able to make decisions. He's excited about this opportunity because it's probably better fits his personality and business mentality. So expect a lot of different changes. You also will see a lot of different people at the wheel, if you will, in a lot of different agencies pretty quickly. Thank you, so.
That's about all we have, unless there's any other questions.
Let's get that group together.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
fantastic.
let's do that.
At this stage, do you have any opinion as to what the, what sort of funding approach might have the best chance of success for CIRTA?
There's a couple different ways that you can look at it in terms of, you can always rely on partner contributions, but you also have to have a steady stream. It's a dedicated source of funds. So you can take a look at rates of growth that, hey, if this index grows, you capture percentages of that amount of growth. Those are typically most looked upon favorably because the state or the locals get their dollars that they rely on today. Everyone enjoys the growth, but some of that additional growth may go to other types of programs. That's a concept that's not identified in the source. That general overarching concept is usually a little bit better received. It's not exactly a tip, if you will, but there's some mentality there where you see rate of growth received by others for those dedicated new activities. I think a lot of times legislators are more interested in that. The challenge that you have to get away from though right now, and I don't want to throw the challenges per se, but they're also trying to limit activities to no more than 10 years. For those in the room that are used to bonding, if you have a cap of 10 years of an activity or tax or revenue, you can't bond. So it really is almost like thanks for nothing. I need a 30-year term at minimum. I can go back and ask for renewal, bond banks and so forth will be generally okay with that, but for 10 years, you can't do it. It just doesn't work. There's actually several things that they've passed here in this past session that 10-year caps that we're dealing with. And you really, it's just yearly revenue, which is great if you're able to execute, but you can't bond and really can't multiply those dollars. So you do have to get away from that. I do think that mass transit, all right, there's no media in the room, but we do have some. The mass transit, this past session, we've worked on this pretty hard the last couple of years from a couple different perspectives. I think you saw Republicans actually go, you know what, mass transit's not even. And this pertains to there's a state rep there that was an unbelievable champion for his neighborhood, his district, and was making Republican members absolutely twist in their chairs. And they did not like what they were being told to do. And you saw the speaker actually interject to kind of save, if you will, Indigo. Chairman Pressel, who I talked about earlier, I talked about should be a BZA member in Marion County, all he lives in Northwest Indiana, actually sees the value of regional transit. Why? He lives in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
He has. Okay, so there are legislators that are from the region that see that and they see the benefit. They understand what a double tracking at South Shore Line actually means. That you have Hal Slater that also sits on Ways and Means. It's from Northwest Indiana. He is a well-respected member. So is Pressel. You also see, people are also a little tired of attacking people's ability to get to work and live. So that's where you also see those pieces as well. I can get along with Senator Freeman every year, like clockwork. He calls me into his office by myself and he yells at me. It's kind of odd. But you have to kind of go through that process with legislators to get that understanding. And so that value of, hey, this is the ability to change generations and also allow somebody to live a life that may be 85, 90, that is just trying to get the doctor's appointments, get to church, get the different things that they may be trying to do, deliver the best of the life they can live that time. So I think too, that's where I think leadership is starting to trend a little bit, but this is very different. You have to get people to understand the overarching, how we grow as a region. I do think that you have more mayors, there's a lot of new mayors. You have some new county commissioners here coming as well throughout the region as well. So you have some folks that are gonna be new and will have some new perspectives as well. I mean, frankly, some of you in the room could speak on that yourself, so. But the dedicated funding, rate of growth where we identify certain things, they are struggling though with road funding, but you start indexing. So that way you don't have a yearly or every 2-year fight for your dollars.
Do you think Propel is looking at any transit options? That Propel study?
We can ask.
We're working with Indigo and
Well, I mean, realistically, you can build more pavement or you can do multimodal. I mean, true multimodal on that system. I mean, that should be a key element of your study.
we're looking at that, but NDOT historically has not been a transit agency, so we have to rely on the transit agencies that partner with them if we're going to do something realistic.
Well, that may be something, we're putting more money in TransPro. Certainly, they've seen it nationally in different applications that enhance mobility on the system. Dedicated to the system. So I hope that would be a focus.
And it's also a conversation too with the new administration. Absolutely.
Well, then one of the unfortunate things was, when you try to split the pie up different, it's really hard to split it up different unless it's increasing. And we really missed an opportunity when the fuel tax was raised, was it 10 years now, whatever? I mean, the big raise that didn't allocate it different. So now you almost have to take something away from somebody to get somebody something more.
Well, PMTF went from a sales tax to a fixed allocation, and that was a huge.
I think all that would be part of the conversation.
It's all on board, it's all in flux now.
And sometimes you get, Travis Holman loves doing this. Have you ever thought about this? And he'll give you 2 ideas and you're like, okay, you just gave us a roadmap. Because when you start talking to them. So those are conversations we have, but we do look forward to getting that group together. So,
Well, thanks for your presentation.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So are you, Jen?
On me. All right. All right, well, thanks first of all for making it here. I know coming up north is not always easy, and even when you live up north, it's not easy, so. Oh man, since our last board meeting, we have been busy. So not only have we made some significant strides in working on getting through grant season, getting through NTD season. We just wrapped up our annual audit as well. And in addition to that, Amanda and Sebastian and their brand new roles and backfilling all of their roles, we are now fully onboarded, fully operating, and both Sebastian and Amanda are doing fantastic in their roles. So just kudos to them. They're killing it, and I'm very excited for the team that we have. Today, I wanted to also update you on a new way in which CIRTA is going to be receiving its funding through CMAQ funding. So I'm not sure if you all are aware of the federal exchange program that is going on in the States, but previously we would apply for our CMAQ funding through the MPO and through the IMPO, and then we would receive that funding, and then we would have to put those funds into a grant through the FTA process. And then from there, be able to draw down on that grant. Well, starting in October, we will be starting to receive our funding directly through the IMPO. And we will be receiving those funds in 6-month increments and then sending in receipts to the MPO to show what we are spending those funds on. We have an agreement that has been reviewed by our legal team already that I am in the process of signing it when I get the final documentation. And it'll be a 3-year agreement for the funding that we have right now allocated, which is for a little over $2.2 million. And then I asked Anna to be here today, just in case any members have any questions about how this all started or how the federal exchange program came to be, but I don't have any concerns about it right now. There was one concern in the agreement that I had that I brought to the team, and they were able to work with me to get it modified. And that just had to do
How does
with,
the match work on this? Is there still a match requirement?
There is still a match requirement. We are asking that sort of will provide proof of that match as the expenses.
20%.
Yeah. We continued or are in the process of extending our agreement with INDOT currently, so we will be under the exchange agreement through 2020. I will tell you, we do, as Jennifer said, plan to kind of issue 6 months upfront of expenses and then reconcile and provide more funding as needed up to the grant award amount. I don't know if you have investment policies, but you may want to consider, right, we're issuing a check for several $100,000 for investment policies. So just a suggestion.
Wasn't CMAQ 100%?
the agreement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
Yeah,
agreement that I had
You
is
guys- Yeah, all right, you guys are the special exception. Sorry,
I was in a hurry.
It's nice to be fed.
Yeah.
Can somebody come touch me?
Yeah.
My legs feel wobbly.
I'm sorry, yeah, you guys are the special exception, the only one in the region that receives 100% federal funding in the CMAQ category, which you are eligible for.
So are we still federal or are we doing the exchange?
We are, yeah, we're exchanging, but
Did
we
we
still
take a
require.
10% haircut?
You didn't.
Okay, I mean, it's,
The pot
Whole
funding
pot
took,
did.
yeah, the whole pot,
Okay,
did,
okay.
yeah, so.
because that would be really devastating.
Yes,
to
yes,
us.
we just took it off the top, so.
Okay.
Right, we had $60 million to allocate, we just awarded.
So that's a good point about investment, because you can't benefit from arbitrage. That kind of money, right?
I will just tell you, we are doing it.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah. So if you invest it and make money on it, you have to be careful about it.
It's about 2 years. It's, well, at least not bond, but.
Maybe we could find a good attorney. and help.
You think? Did that agreement already get approved by the board? If you're getting ready to sign it?
I was told it didn't need approval, but it was reviewed by legal. If you guys want to make a motion to,
I would move to approve the exchange agreement based on the discussion we've had.
I'll second that. And then. Guess we'll do a vote. You want me to do the vote?
Sorry, no, problem.
Okay. Jerry,
Yes.
yes for Greg. Larry,
I,
Don,
Yes.
Christine, Kylene. Come on. Kylene,
She's still muted.
we'll
Greg.
wait on- Robbie,
Aye.
Destiny,
Aye.
Ann,
yes.
I think I got everybody. Just one.
just one,
Ron's yes.
Oh, sorry. And then, Mike?
Yes. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay. I guess everybody, the motion passes, thank you.
As well, never hurt to be careful.
Yep, thank you. All right, so thank you for that. Are there any other questions regarding the federal exchange process or for Anna? Or myself on that topic?
This is maybe a little off subject, but is NDOT gonna do any other MP? We're supposed to be a pilot here, right?
It's a question for NDOT. I will tell you, when extending our agreements to fiscal year 2029, they saw it as the full 5-year pilot for us. I will tell them financial projections and uncertainty of what is going to come out of the next transportation bill with the onboarding of more and more EV vehicles and the lack of taxation associated. It's really a question to be directed at NDOT. But I don't even know how many MPOs are interested because it does take a level of administration sophistication to be able, and municipal sophistication to be able to execute agreements.
in not having that oversight. Plus, it's difficult at a local level to plan projects because the beauty of the exchange is you don't have to follow all the guidelines. But if we don't have a period that we know we can plan to, I mean, that was a huge topic at the, yeah.
Well, I guess the new administration. Figured it out.
So it was very important to us. We are still in the process of that, the 2-year extension, but we want to get that executed before the administration, probably before even the.
You feel like it's going pretty good though?
So we have yet, right, we have not received any funding yet, right? It's not fiscal year 25. We won't receive that funding. Leading up to it, I think a lot of good things are happening. I mean, there are several jurisdictions that are changing the way they do business. Like some of them had like, here's our federal side. This is the guy, he only deals with federal projects. This is our state guy. And so like they are changing the way they do business. I just hope we can continue to have partnerships that end up to continue it for the longevity. It doesn't work if we're hopping in and out of the program. So.
Thanks.
Thanks, Anna, for being here. Okay. As I mentioned before, we just wrapped up our annual audit. We were dinged on our AFR again because gross receipts were reported, but not net receipts. So the receipts were over and the disbursements were under. It had a 0 net effect, and the corrective action that we were putting in place for that is basically revising the approval process. So when the financial team redoes the AFR, they are now going to be sending myself all of the supporting documentation to review and to double and triple check before submitting. Are there any questions for me regarding that? Overall, everything else went really well. We've had the same auditor for the last 3 years, so that's been very nice and it has been very helpful. And Jerry was on the exit call with us. Jerry, did you have anything else you wanted to add regarding that?
I was gonna say, actually, we got a good bill of health. Overall, we only had one minor consideration, and it had to do with an adjustment at the year end, which was really good news from where we were in the past. So really good exit interview, and thought things went well. So, and then there was some discussion about making sure that we don't have that happen again. And Jen just alluded to that in some of her comments. So yeah, so I was pleased.
We've also been working very hard. Thanks, Jerry. We've been working very hard to start to implement some of the strategic plan recommendations into effect. Some of the things that we are looking at is how we can change our communication to our stakeholders. So we are going to be moving away from having like joint communications to, for example, our list of who are our champions, who are our individuals such as legislators, stakeholders that appoint you to our board, things to that extent. And then having separate communication that just goes out to our commuters and to our employers and things to that extent. So that's something I've been working on with JTPR and Jen Thomas. We've also been, we did have a nice PowerPoint presentation for you to show you some of the community engagement we've been doing and things to that extent. And we might put it up again after the meeting. And then we are in full preparation for our annual Car Free Day event. So Jen is helping us relaunch our corporate challenge for this year to get more employers involved, and excited to get their teams involved, to encourage more people to go car free and to know how to go car free, not just on Car Free Day, but all year long. Other things to just quickly report on, our office is undergoing a 2-week renovation currently, starting yesterday. So we're getting some drywall repairs completed and some new carpeting in the office. We have put notices up on our website and on our office door I can tell you that it's pretty rare that we have somebody from the community come into the CIRTA office, but it does happen probably like once a year, maybe. And in that case, we just wanted them to make sure there is office space that is dedicated for staff in the building if they need it. So just FYI for that. And then that is right now, Amanda and I, after this meeting, are heading to Ohio. So we're going to meet with the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission to learn more about their van pool program and their mobility management network. So the state of Ohio has a mobility manager in every county pretty much. And CIRTA has the only mobility manager in the state at the moment. So we're looking to learn more on best practices and to learn more about what they're doing in Ohio. Before I get the team up here to give their updates, Mike, I would like to introduce Mike, if you just want to stand up for a minute. Mike is our newest board member appointed by the Boone County Commissioners. So thanks for being a part of this group. We had a great introduction meeting and got to know each other a little bit. Did you want to say a few words or?
Didn't prepare anything. Apologies for being late, but no, I'm kind of new to the role, so I'm just really learning how I can fit in and help out and just provide some expertise from my background. And you know, I've always enjoyed transportation and building and delivering projects, so I figure this would be a pretty good fit.
What do you do?
So I've been the Boone County engineer for the last 2.5 years, and prior to that, I was doing highway construction as a consultant working for NDOT, so I-69, US 31, CIRTA 25. So did a lot of highway construction. So if my language is never church-like, well, I've got 15 years. I've already saw that. Yeah, I've got it on the side, so you fit in pretty good. Okay. But no, I've just, really enjoyed it and developed a passion for it. So I figured, hopefully I can help bring some of those skills and passion and work with this group here. So look forward to getting involved and kind of learn a little bit more as I go. That's lovely. Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
being here, Mike. All right, that's all I have.
Amanda?
Good morning. So I'm Amanda. I'm our Assistant Director and Mobility Manager. So I know Jen gave you some updates, but definitely want to fill you in on some other things happening. The last time I talked to you guys, I was pretty new in my role. So Philip and I joked that I'm drinking a fire hose right now, but we said that, it's starting to become just a big boba straw if you've had one of those before. I'm starting to get quite acclimated in my role. So lots of meetings with different partners, our different neighboring partners in different communities that all of you serve. So definitely excited to continue building those relationships and see how we can work together and continue improving transportation, including, for example, I presented to the Work One team in Plainfield, who serves many counties, not just Plainfield, and how we can continue to work together in transportation and get people to job interviews, not just connecting them with jobs as well. But also thanks to Robert, I had a meeting with Visit Hendricks County, and they are looking at different ways to try to get some more van pool going potentially. So that was a great meeting as well. Jen mentioned wrapping up grant season. So thankful for Philip and his knowledge and able to contribute to that process, as that was my first time. I worked with the CMAQ grants in the past couple of years, but this was my first time with the 5307 grants. So great experience there, as well as NTD annual wrapped up, thanks to Brandy and Philip both, all of us working together as a team to get through all of that. So for our connectors, I'm happy to report that the ridership is up. So for example, with Whitestown in April, we had 430 riders, where in May it was 536. So always happy to see that in an uptick. And Plainfield, they finished last month at 1,259. So there is still quite a variance there, but I know Jen and I are working on that marketing plan for Whitestown in hopes to put more of a focus on getting ridership up there. I did have the pleasure of going through a 2-day FDA drug and alcohol training. Happened to have a trainer that was very funny, so that was nice. But it's just good to have that knowledge as we're working with Royal Transportation, knowing what our partner is required to do and being able to help hold them accountable and knowing what they are doing with their audits and all of that is great knowledge as well. We had, as our wonderful Sarah takes her calls, she had 10 cross-county trip requests in the month of May. So really good to know how we can continue to serve those who want to be able to cross counties. And so we continue to have those County Connect meetings as well as the meetings for the pilot. So if you are new to our meetings, we are working on trying to have more of regionalized options for people that they can more easily cross counties with transportations and not have to call multiple agencies and make multiple website visits and figure it out. So we meet regularly to try to see how we can improve that. And one of the ways that we're doing that is with our pilot that we are doing. And so I've had multiple meetings lately with TripMaster, our provider that many of our agencies use. And we want to be able to have Hancock County and Hamilton County work together to have a meeting location to test this out. And so that's where we are. We are in the process of finalizing those details. We don't have a kickoff date officially, but things are in progress and looking good there. My Freedom trips continue to increase. They had 78 requests last month and trips completed. So that is great news. And just continuing to absorb and learn all that I can and happy to be in the role. So any questions for me?
Where have the majority of the My Freedoms been from two to where to two?
That's a great question. I don't have that in front of me, but I would be happy to share as we send our board minutes. I can make sure that we got something there about the trip requests. Anything else? Thank you, Sebastian.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out, and it's very nice to meet everybody again. So I am the new program manager. I took over after Amanda was promoted. So I got some pretty exciting things to share with everybody. Since our last meeting, we've been able to register 420 new commuters onto our carpool database. So we're putting our numbers a little bit over 11,863. So we're closing in on that 12,000 enrollments. We've been setting up informational tables at over 50 different employer locations within the last month and a half, including getting in the doors at GXO Logistics, which at that location, we were there. Boone County has 2 in Lebanon and then 1 in Whitestown. We were able to register over 50 employees there and identify over 10 separate carpool groups, which was really exciting because we already know that people are already observing that behavior. We also are continuing to attend many new hire orientations at companies such as South Point Healthcare, where we've helped many people. We are continuing to attend Full Beauty Brands weekly orientation. We've been heavily involved at Walgreens Micro Fulfillment Center in Plainfield, as well as the Hostess brand over on the east side of Indianapolis, which was just recently acquired by Smuckers. So they're having a little bit of a transitional change. We've also been able to connect with some major employers. The Kruger Cold Storage Facility, we're working on getting ourselves in there. That's in Shelby County. We've been able to reestablish a connection in Hamilton County with the Carmel Clay Parks and Rec, which has just recently hired over 450 employees and had their employer new hire orientation party last week. We've also been able to reconnect with URI in Plainfield and Thermal Structures, which are part of our connectors, very Latino-based employees. So I've been able to go in there and meet a lot of people and help kind of drive our program. We've also been participating very heavily in community events. We continue to set up our tables at the transit center in downtown Indianapolis for the Indigo. We're at this Indiana State House at their cafe at least once a month, talking to the employees there. We were invited to the IMPD Southeast Community Day at Garfield Park, which was pretty successful. We talked to over 150 families looking for resources on transportation and jobs. We've been able to attend a lot of Earth Day events, which occurred between April and June. One of them was at the JCC, which was fantastic. We were welcomed back. As well as we just recently attended Earth Day at Garfield Park, which had over a couple hundred people in attendance. I've also been asked, and I've been a featured speaker at the Indianapolis Urban League. They have a monthly program called their CARES program, where it's a second chance rehabilitation. So they get people from the community that are looking for different options as they are able to re-enter society from being incarcerated. But as a leadership team, we've also been attending the Easter Seals Crossroad program. So we've been featured speaker there, helping a lot of people with transportation, be able to meet different community organizations. Heavily involved with the Excel Center, as well as the TWI Task Force Roundtable, which was just recently created, and it's about 250 organizations that all they really want to do is help people get to work and overcome the different barriers such as housing, transportation, and childcare. We've had great success with our bike program. Earlier in May, May was Bike Month. We were able to attend Bike Indianapolis's Bike to Work Day, which was a huge success. Between Sarah and myself, we helped organize that. We had 12 vendors, over 150 people in attendance. Great success for that program, as well as attending Bike Harmel's Bike to Work Day as well, which was pretty successful. For our Bike Buddies program, we've been able to add 6 new mentors. We hosted their meeting a little bit after the last board meeting. So we enrolled 3 new mentors, and then we've connected them with their buddies and have received some pictures and feedback. So that's been really, really wonderful. Another great success for our program has been our school pool. As of our last meeting, we had 5, and then going into the next school year, we have 10, and then we've added 3 new schools since our last board meeting have been official. We were actually at St. Philip Neri's, kind of like in the school bash, which is pretty much a 98% Latino Catholic school. They go from kindergarten to, I believe, this 5th or 6th grade. So that was really nice to be able to help provide those school pool resources for them. And then just some analytics and data that are kind of fun for people like myself. Jen Thomas has been doing a really great job with our social media and our websites and everything. Our website generated 6,233 new users between April and May. 13,928 unique website views to CIRTA.us. Our top pages viewed include, obviously our homepage is the first page you see, but the Plainfield Connector has received a lot of traffic because we've been going out to the community and kind of helping people establish and find jobs. The Hamilton County Express has been very popular as well, as we've been kind of letting people know about that service, and I've actually seen them driving around on my way here, which is kind of cool. Access Johnson County as well was another top hit. And then our Register Now, which is great because a lot of people are starting to register online now that we're getting them used to a QR code, kind of saving paper along the way. And then our participating employer site, as well as the Plainfield EID website, where we've been directing people that are looking for employment along those free transportation resources. We've also been starting to implement a lot of new strategies on LinkedIn. So we've generated 2,167 impressions, with 1,117 of those being unique. So people that have never seen our site before or our LinkedIn. Our engagement rate is 5.8%, which the national average and compared to our competitors or other agencies alike. The engagement rate's a little bit over 6%, so we're doing pretty good, I would say. And then we've grown our following by 598 followers on LinkedIn, which has also been really positive. Overall, just to recap, since our last meeting, we have 11,863 new commuters in our database. 420 of those have come since our last board meeting. 87% of our commuters are active on our matching page, and our goal is 65%. So we've been really trying to maintain that standard for ourselves. And then we've been able to help subsidize 12 van pools, which Amanda's done a really great job, and so is Sarah managing that process. When it comes to our events, we've signed up for 28 unique events from June till pretty much the end of the summer. Coming up, so we've already attended Garfield Park. That was day 1 of June. Last week we were at the HealthNet Healthy Families Fair, also at Garfield Park. We've been going to the transit center at least twice a month. This week, tomorrow, we actually have the Edna Martin Christian Community Resource Fair, and then we will be at the Hamilton County Resource and Health Fair at the fairgrounds. Our biggest event coming up in June is actually going to be the Indiana Black Expo and Minority Health Fair, which will be at the Indiana Convention Center. So if anybody wants to stop by, I believe we're C59. But that event last year was generated like 15 to 20,000 people a day. It's a free event. I've seen people get physicals and get different resources, so it's pretty cool. And then here locally in Fishers, we will be at Sparks Fishers at the end of the month as well. As well as at Harrow Hoosiers Park, they're having their big family event day, so that's going to be really exciting. July, we have a couple of festivals. The IU Momentum Bike Festival is a 2-day. We'll be at Mass Ave on Friday, and then we'll be at the park in front of our office on Saturday, and that's the 12th and the 13th of July. We will also get invited to Dia de las Familias, which is a big Hispanic family resource fair hosted by the Radio Latino or Latina. We were at their employment fair in February. So they invited us to that, and that's going to be at the fairgrounds. And then we will also be back here in Hamilton County for the Hamilton County Veterans Resource Fair, as well as other veteran events that are going on at the White River State Park, but those are going to be August into September. But overall, that's all the program updates that I have. We've been working really hard and trying to make sure that our presence and our values are felt in every single one of the communities and counties that each of you guys represent. So just know that that's our focus, is to make sure that everybody that asks, anybody that has access to it, can get access to transportation and our resources. So if anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them, but if not, have a wonderful day. So, any questions? No? All right, cool. Well, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. So, thank you.
Is there anything else for the good of the cause, anybody?
Great.
This is Ron. I just wanted to let you know that this next fall may be my last meeting. Unfortunately, I didn't make it through the primary. And I don't know what the commissioners will be doing in 2025, but I've enjoyed, my 20+ years involvement in working with all of you. And, I will be at the next meeting, but who knows what will happen in 2025.
Well, thanks for your service, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Great.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Just Jerry, real quick. Want to chime in and reiterate Christine's comment points in regards to the Propel study for looking at transit alternatives in terms of that, but also neighborhood connectivity. When the interstates were basically pushed into the large urban centers, they just tore apart a lot of neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods have suffered immensely over the years. And so connectivity points and accessibility for multimodal at those connection points are really key. But I think that this is a really good chance for us to maybe provide some good input to that study. I appreciated your comments as well, Greg. In terms of otherwise, what's going to happen is that it may end up being just totally vehicle centric, and I think we need to really key in on that. And I think the other thing to think about is any way that we can improve the environment as well is worthwhile. And there may be some other alternatives for that. So I'll let it go at that. But thank you very much, and thank you again, Greg, for running the meeting today. Appreciate it.
Well, rocky start, but takes practice, doesn't it, Jerry?
It does.
Thanks, everybody. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
But
Okay.
one thing, when we're looking at where we can add value, if we could, with community connections, like neighborhood connections or church connections, where we know there's pockets of workers that would be amenable to a van group. And then work with employers that are on the roster and act as almost a connection with the employees and employers with a focus, and have a couple success stories there. It's huge, because I just know, especially in the hospitality industry, employment is just a real challenge. And most of it, I would think, is transportation. So to the extent we could facilitate friends, like church members, close communities with a pool of employees, I'm thinking the Leaf District, we've got a lot of opportunities, or help it feed with the Whitestown. I'm sure we're focusing, but if we could refocus on that and be an employment tool, it'd be huge for just our community.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry. All in favor?
Hi,
Yeah. Well, if we need to do it, we'll call for that.
and just leave.
I